And if you knew their history, you would not follow behind the European. And if you knew the history of the Arab, you would not follow Arab Islam. You would understand that two Africans made Islam, Zayd bin Hadid and Bilal. And that Ethiopia nursed Islam in its cradle and saved it. When they were about to be driven out of Arabia, the Prophet Muhammad said, go to Ethiopia. Go to that land where no one is wrong. And they went to Ethiopia, as Africans is always hospitable to strangers, let his followers in, gave them a haven. After the death of the Prophet, they went back and got the faith well underway. Now you think you've got to propagate, purify, and sell us Arabism, which is not Islam, because the Arabs are the betrayers of Islam. You don't know who the Arab is, do you? He's part of the dirty waste matter that came down from the back door of Europe and united with the waste matter that came out the side door of Africa. He's the bastard child of a bastard child. Prove me wrong. Now you've got to follow these bunch of degenerates. When they came to Africa, our ancestors thought, because it was the period of the Romans, that the Arabs and Islam would help to get the Romans off our back. And they were right. While the Arabs and Islam got Rome off their back, the Arabs replaced the Romans on their back, and they're still here. Vulture, slave trader, rapist. I'm not against Islam or any religion for that matter, but I'm willing to condemn at the risk of my life any religion that says their God endorses the slave trade, Christianity included. Africans are being killed and enslaved in Mauritania right now. Africans are being enslaved in the Sudan right now. Africans are being driven out of Mauritania who are Muslims because they want a pure Arab nation. Meanwhile, Senegal is more Islamic than Arabia. Yet the Senegalese Muslim is being driven out. A whole lot of people in the Sudan who are calling themselves Arabs are black-skinned Africans converted to the faith and have now turned against and enslaving their own people. And when you can't say anything about this, and you're hiding behind the skirt of a god, letting your own people be mutilated. Now, if we are at the crossroads of history, history is about to change. I'm not saying that anyone should leave a church or to leave a mosque or to leave any religion. I'm telling you that every single thing that touches your life, every social thing, every political thing, every cultural thing, must be converted into an instrument of liberation or be thrown into the ash can of history. We have no time to waste on nonsense and ceremony without substance. When you've got to deal with Christianity, remember, we did not follow Europeanized Christianity. Until the extent we followed it, we went completely wrong. We created the independent African church. It was a church that was totally different from the European church. It nurtured us, helped to give us some of our first and finest schools. The church was once the schoolhouse. The church was once the place we hid from the law, the place we went to when we had no other visible means of support, the place we went to because we didn't send our people to insane asylums, take care of mental illness, all purpose. The church went back to the African spirituality that we had before foreigners interfered with our spiritual way of life and started giving us some European garbage disguised as Christianity when it was a handmaiden of their conquest. Christianity became the handmaiden of European conquest. Islam became the handmaiden of Arabic conquest. And speaking of, listen to this fact, this statistic, and maybe you people will sober down and stop telling that damn Arab lie about Islam being the black man's true religion and Arabic being the black man's true language. First of all, Islam is an AD religion, not a BC. The Arabs themselves are an AD people. They are some of the newest people on this planet. We had religion and language 5,000 years before the birth of Christ. And that's if he lived at all. Now I'm getting touchy. But why did I qualify? But listen, you know, if I was much younger, or I guess in my father's day and made a statement like that, in a room full of people, I'd have to have some friends at the door and a few right next to me in case I had to run for my life. I'd be able to get out the building. But by qualification, if he lived at all. If you read John Jackson's Pagan Origins of the Christ myth, he traced the Christ story through 26 civilizations, each with a separate Christ. Some of them are barely 1,000 miles apart. You only know about one. Because every nation, every major people have their own Christ concept. If you read a little pamphlet by Gerald Massey, The Historical Jesus and the Mystic Christ, he examines the historical origins. If you read another book written by John Jackson right before his death, Christianity Before Christ, what's he talking about? He's talking about the fact that Africans practiced the same religion, identical religion, did not betray it, thousands of years before Christ. And he explains what St. Augustine meant. And I always wondered what he meant when he talking at the Conference of Nicaea, when he said that these people are trying to give us a religion we had 3,000 years ago. Now, what was he talking about? If in 325 AD we had it 3,000 years ago, then we had it long before Christ. A lot of people do not understand, and some refuse to understand, that you have to make a distinction between organized religion and a spiritual way of life.